Quickly erasing the memories of the 7-0 destruction, Manchester United, Erik ten Hag, Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandez, the Red Devils are through to the quarterfinals of the Europa League with an aggregate win of 5-1 against Real Betis and Manuel Pellegrini. Luis Miguel, Echegaray, ESPNFC, thank you so much for joining us live. Janusz, Michallik, my brother in the house. Janusz, initial reaction, Real Betis played better, but overall Manchester United took care of business in the first leg.
Yeah, I think they're just maintaining the momentum. Not an easy thing, right? I mean, Betis seems to be a good bounce for Manchester United after some disappointment. We saw that against Liverpool, and we saw that today after the disappointing draw against Southampton. Although, remember, they had to play 56 minutes with 10 men. So I think that's what you expect from a good team, a team that's still growing, but team that, as I've mentioned, Luis, has that a good momentum. Still in a fight for top four, of course. You look at the FA Cup coming up this weekend against Fulham. They're in that competition. One trophy in the bag already, and you know, this one, of course, they're going to be favorites in Europa League as well. So I think plenty to look forward to, even though it looked at times like a tired performance.
Yeah, definitely indeed. And we'll talk about that squad selection in a second. But as you said, Janusz, Manchester United already with the League Cup, still in the FA Cup, now in the quarterfinals of the Europa League, and of course in contention. I know, unrealistic, but still numerically in contention to win the Premier League. That's not going to happen, we don't think. But still, as you said, alive in all competitions. How about Marcus Rashford? Janusz, Michallik, unbelievable, 26 goals in all competitions. That passes Robert Lewandowski now, third amongst the players in Europe's top 5 leagues. Haaland with 39, Mbappe with 31, Marcus Rashford right there at number 3. How about this young man, Janusz, Michallik?
Well, he stayed consistent, and he stayed hungry, right? I mean, that game, if you forget the couple of the early chances, I think Juan Mi inches away, remember, early, and then I think Ayoze Perez. If you take that away, because Manchester United survived that, hit the post before the half, I mean, everything happened between 53rd and 56th minute. Remember that? I mean, Marcus Rashford had a couple of chances against Rui Silva on the counter, and then I'm trying to remember that, you know, great strike, and in between it was Ayoze Perez in the 54th minute that had a great chance. So the game was played in transition, but Marcus Rashford, 2 chances where he should have put away. I think, you know, he was pretty much one-on-one twice, didn't do it, and then 30 seconds later he comes up with this brilliant strike, because it really was all power, bottom corner, a bit of a daisy cutter as well. So here's a player that's, look, I mean, he's hot. What's that? Forgive my math, but I think 25 goals on the season in all competitions. I think something like that.
Yeah, so 26 in
26 with this one. Yeah, maybe I didn't check I knew I wasn't sure. It was 25 to 26. Doesn't matter. I mean,
you were close.
it's been a great season for him, and one that I think many United fans have been waiting for a long time, because it's been consistent.
Yeah, consistent indeed. And how about some more stats here? 19 goals in all club competitions since the end of the World Cup. That's the most from any player in Europe's top 5 leagues since Haaland, despite his 5-goal performance on Tuesday. That's how good Marcus Rashford has been. Here's a question from a fan, Janusz. We're getting the questions in. Thank you so much, everybody. Keep sending them in. But we saw the squad selection today from Ten Hag. They have another important match this weekend as well in the FA Cup, and the games will continue to go on. Rashford and Fernandez started. Should they have been rested? Does it show Ten Hag doesn't trust his squad, Janusz?
No, not at all. I think if anything, he trusts his squad, because remember that both Casemiro and Bruno Fernandez were playing on a yellow card, and that could have been even more significant, right? Because Casemiro won't play against Fulham in the FA Cup, but you wouldn't want him to miss the next match in Europa League. Bruno Fernandez, same thing. But I think when you win the first game 4-1, you have to trust your players, right? Because it's not like you're going to have to get into these tackles. You have a little bit of a cushion as well. So I don't think that's the case. Anthony, of course, was ill, so he went out the squad. Garnacho, as we've seen, he's going to be out for a while. So he could have. I think he wanted that momentum. I think he's recognized the fact that the players bounced after the game against Liverpool, and even the one against Southampton. He wanted to play. Look, I mean, you know that Benito Villamarin is not an easy place to go to. Betis are fifth and themselves fighting for a Champions League spot, just like Manchester United as well. And all it takes, I've mentioned those two chances early on. What if they go in? So I think it wasn't a statement of any kind. I think this is a manager that says, look, Casemiro and Bruno are inexperienced players. With the score 4-1, don't get into anything that could cost you getting a yellow card to be out of this particular competition.
I like the way you say Benito Villamarin, by the way. Shout out to your Spanish there, Janusz Michallik. I like it. It's good.
Learning with you. I'm telling you, we're going to be doing this in Spanish pretty soon. Get ready.
Let's do it. Get ready, ESPN Deportes, because here come your brothers. I love it. All right, well, these are the following fixtures for Manchester United, by the way. They got Fulham at home in the FA Cup. Newcastle away should be an intriguing one. Brentford at home, and then Everton at home. So Manchester United fans are looking at this squad, hoping that they remain settled and fresh. Let me ask you something, Janusz, because Erik ten Hag mentioned it in the press. It was kind of intriguing. Speaking specifically of Arsenal, it wasn't so much as an attack. It was just a slight of an observation. It was pretty intriguing, saying how Arsenal have had the luck of having a healthy squad, or the majority of a healthy squad for the entire season, and Manchester United have not. I'm not sure if Ten Hag has been keeping tabs on Arsenal's squad, but that hasn't necessarily been the case. What do you think in terms of that comment?
No, I don't think it was anything special towards Arsenal. I mean, obviously, you'd always want that on any given season. It can go the other way for you. I think in general, I think he was a little bit worried about his team because first and foremost, because I think I've mentioned a little bit that they look tired, physically probably and mentally as well, because I think he recognizes that playing Thursday, Sunday, it's not an easy thing. Arsenal have to do that as well, but obviously, they're not in all those trophies as well. And if you look at some of the key injuries that come in United's way, and if you consider, just think about that, because I had to look at that. I had to remind myself they've been playing against the likes of Barcelona a couple of times. Now you have Betis. Those are difficult matches. You have EFL Cup final against Newcastle. You have an FA Cup a game against West Ham. Then you have obviously Liverpool away from home. So I think, if I had to guess and trying to get into his head, when you look at the injuries and that cycle, Thursday, Sunday, which is totally different than Champions League cycle, maybe in a way he was a little bit worried of his team not being fresh and injuries not helping his team. But I don't think it was a dig at Arsenal. It was just stating the facts.
Well, you know me, I like to create a telenovela when maybe there isn't one. But all right, let's move on here. Let's focus on the Europa League for a second. Now that Manchester United in the quarterfinals, it's a big tournament, but as we have talked, they're also in the FA Cup, and they're also trying to remain in a top 4 spot in the Premier League for the Champions League next season as well. There's a lot going on. How do you, if you were the manager, Janusz, if you were Erik ten Hag and you're looking at the Europa League, obviously, would you see that as the next priority after the Premier League? Would you go all in on the Europa League at this point?
Well, I don't think managers do that as well, because first and foremost, as you've said, you've kind of look at you look at week to week, not necessarily because that's what managers say, but with some of these injuries creeping up and maybe some players hitting a red zone there. I still think the Premier League, I mean, it's not done and dusted, right? It became a little bit tighter right now because of the points that Manchester United lost, Southampton and Liverpool. And you look at Newcastle now getting back in the winning ways. Spurs are pushing again. So, if you look at the points in the Premier League, I would have to imagine the Premier League is still a priority. Anything else is a bonus.
Yes, I would agree. I think as well, the Premier League, obviously the coveted trophy, the coveted journey for Manchester United and Erik ten Hag. We're sending all the questions in. Our friend Rob Dawson, who is a Benito Villamarin, he's trying to get some good Wi-Fi, but I think, Real Betis fans are stealing his laptop because he's a Manchester United reporter. But here's another question, by the way. This is a good one, I think. Over 2 legs, who are you taking, Janusz? Arsenal or Manchester United in the Europa League? Obviously, Arsenal still have to get the job done against Sporting Lisbon, but let's say they do. Who do you take here?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a difficult one. let's wait till it happens and who's available. I think it's going to be a tight one as well. I think, look, Arsenal in the form they're in, I don't think they're afraid of anybody. I would, if anything, point towards maybe in the direction of some of the experienced players on Manchester United as well. And that's assuming, of course, that everybody's available, right? This is the assumption that we're going to make, since we're making an assumption that both are going to be still in that competition. So that experience for me is very, very important. In terms of hot players, they both have it. I mean, just look at Arsenal, and then you look at Rashford and everybody else. But, the likes of De Gea, the likes of Lisandro Martinez, Varane, and Casemiro, those are important points. I'm not saying that Arsenal don't have him, but it's still a much, much younger team.
Indeed. That's an average age of 24.7 for Arsenal. And obviously with the likes of Gabriel Jesus coming back to action, which he starts today, by the way, as well, want to make sure that he stays healthy. I believe Rob Dawson has fought back and stolen back his laptop and his work.
He's a fighter. He's a fighter.
I've made it.
He has made it. And look at that fighting beard. I love it. Rob Dawson, good to have you on, my friend. Great to see you. Tell me, initial reaction from this game. We were just talking about, the job was pretty much done in the first leg. Real Betis seemed to have played better today, but overall, a good performance from the Red Devils.
Yeah, I mean, a pretty professional European away performance, really. Real Betis were good at the start. That they had a great 10 minutes, had a couple of chances. That the atmosphere in the stadium was absolutely bouncing at that point. And if Real Betis had scored, you wondered whether it might make United a little bit nervous, and there might be something that could have built from there. But United weathered the storm a little bit, got to half time at 0-0. And then obviously Marcus Rashford is in the kind of form where he's able to produce moments of magic almost out of nothing at the moment. And that's what he did. And once that goal goes in, the tie is pretty much over. So, yeah, I mean, the game was really won, I suppose, at Old Trafford, winning 4-1. But if there was any doubt, the minute that goal goes in, it's all over. And a pretty professional European away performance from Man United and safely into the next round.
Rob, very quickly, just from the atmosphere, Benito Villamarin, I mean, obviously, Janusz and I are talking about the game, watching it from a neutral perspective, but being in the stadium, Janusz made a good point about, how hostile this ground can be and how powerful and passionate these fans can be. But how did the players seem? Obviously, they've been on the end of some horrible losses as of late, but how did they seem? Did they seem comfortable, ready? Because obviously, their schedule is pretty daunting, specifically an FA Cup match in a few days as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting in terms of the atmosphere because obviously, leading 4-1 from the first leg, you would expect Man United to go through fairly comfortable. But the atmosphere was so intense and so hostile, certainly for the opening sort of 10 and 15 minutes, that you did think that if Real Betis had got a goal, that you did wonder, whether, they score again very quickly and then all of a sudden there's only sort of one goal in it. And, these strange things happen in European ties like this. I thought it was pretty impressive from United, really, that they were able to weather that storm a little bit. Because, as I say, if they had buckled and a goal had gone in, there was every chance that maybe Real Betis could have scored a couple of very quick goals. And all of a sudden, it's a very different night. The crowd come into it a lot more, and you're struggling a little bit. Really, the credit goes to Man United because whatever influence the crowd was having early on, they managed to negate that. And then the minute, as I say, that goal goes in from Marcus Rashford, then the crowd is removed as an influence, and the game is over. It would have been very interesting to see if Real Betis had scored early. They had a great chance after about sort of 7 or 8 minutes from Juanmi that was just rolled past the far post. If that had gone in, it could have been a very, very different night for Man United. Indeed.
Janusz, I know that you have to leave soon, so here's a question for you, another fan question, then Rob, I'll let you answer as well. But Janusz, how important is keeping Marcus Rashford long-term for Manchester United? Does he need, also, this is the side note question, does he need a striker partner, and why should it be Harry Kane? That's just me asking that side. But how important is Marcus Rashford in terms of the long-term project for Manchester United?
Well, of course he is. I mean, I don't think he wants to go anywhere. He wants to leave. I think it's going to be also important for him to confirm this sort of form, right? We've been waiting for this for a long, long time. We've been talking about the inconsistency in his career so far. It wasn't an easy because it was during the time where obviously United have been unsettled for a long time since Sir Alex Ferguson has gone. But I do think that, as we've seen today, I think he's much, much more dangerous on the left-hand side. I think, given the fact that I think, again, Manchester United are going to be a big team, big boys fighting for all the big trophies, you need depth in squad. So even if you didn't think they needed it, for that reason alone. So I don't see him going anywhere. I don't see him wanting to go anywhere. Rob may probably have some more information in terms of his feelings about Manchester United. But of course, he's important. And I think he needs to, I don't know if prove that again next season, but for me, he's a 20-plus goal scorer every season. He should be.
Rob, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows how quickly football can change. In that, Marcus had a particularly poor season last year, and there was talk of him possibly going to PSG. PSG being interested. Actually, parts of his entourage went to meet PSG, and there were United fans at that time who were saying that maybe Marcus does need a change of scenery. Maybe he does need to go somewhere else and fulfil this potential that we all know he's had. Fast forward a couple of months, and really he's irreplaceable for Man United. He's in that impressive form. Man United fans don't want to see him go anywhere. And also on the flip side of that, Marcus has said repeatedly that he's obviously loves Man United. He's come up through the academy, but he also wants to win trophies. Last year United were miles away from winning trophies, and all of a sudden under Erik ten Hag, they look capable of not only winning trophies like the Carabao Cup, which they've already done this season, but also challenging maybe for the Premier League title next season. They'll be in the Champions League next season, you would assume, maybe even get into the sort of the latter stages of the Champions League. So not only is Marcus Rashford sort of cemented his position as someone that Man United really can't do without anymore, United have also shown him that they are capable of matching his ambition. And you only have to look at someone like, I don't know, Jude Bellingham, for example. United were linked with him last year, and everyone just assumed that he would go nowhere near Man United because they were struggling so much on the field, and you said that Liverpool were miles ahead of them in the race for his signature. All of a sudden, it's flipped a little bit. United look the most likely to win trophies, most likely to challenge at the top of the Premier League table, and Liverpool are struggling a little bit. And that's kind of what's happened with Marcus. United have shown him, I think, under Erik ten Hag, that this is the place that he can win trophies now.
Yep, and just like ESPN and Janusz Michallik, we can't do without Janusz Michallik. Janusz Michallik is very important to ESPN, and we have to say goodbye to Janusz Michallik.
You got Rob. He was there. He's more important. See you guys.
Janusz, have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much. Rob Dawson will stay with us for a little bit longer. Keep sending your questions, everybody. We got a good one here, Rob, from a fan. If you're building a team right now, Rob Dawson, because you're the best person to answer this, I think, covering both Manchester clubs. Are you picking Erling Haaland or Marcus Rashford as your striker?
What a question. I mean, you've set me up for a massive fall there with whatever I say. Obviously, you can't deny Erling Haaland's numbers. They are absolutely out of this world. And Marcus Rashford has a way to go to match those numbers. Even this season, it's his most productive season. He is miles away from producing the amount of goals that Haaland has. All I would say, the question specifically says, if I was building a team. Now, Marcus Rashford, I think if he signs a new contract at Man United, he will be at Man United for the rest of his career. He will be here until he's 35, 40 years old, possibly. I think it's pretty well known that Erling Haaland has ambitions away from Man City at some stage. Now, I'm not suggesting that he's going to leave in the summer or even the summer after that, but it's fairly well known that he would like to play at Real Madrid, for example. Now, City are going to benefit from a fantastic striker for this year, obviously, for next year, probably, and the year after, probably. But at some stage, he is going to want to go to Real Madrid. Now, that's not the type of striker that you would build an entire team around. Pep Guardiola is lucky enough that his squad is so fantastic that he can drop these players in, perform fantastically well and win trophies and then move on. But in terms of actually building a team, which is what Man United are trying to do, they're building a team ultimately to try and catch City. You'd have to say that because Marcus Rashford is probably going to stick around for an awful lot longer at United than Haaland is at City, that you would have to pick Rashford. What I would say that with the caveat to all that is that Haaland has shown year after year that he is capable of scoring fantastic amounts of goals. This is the first year really where Rashford is hitting those levels of sort of 30 plus goals. He's had a couple of years where he's had 20 goal seasons, but he needs to do that consistently. He's 25 years old now. He needs to do that this year and next year and the year after to show that he's really in that top bracket of striker.
Yeah, I think the only caveat to the answer for that, it's a very tricky one, is it all depends on what else you're building around that. Because Erling Haaland is a player that you build around. I feel Marcus Rashford is a player that can emphatically help you in a diverse wide of spaces. So it's a very tricky one, though. Both equally talented, both the Premier League both Manchester very lucky to have.
Horrible question to answer. Horrible question.
It's terrible. We're never going to please anybody with that kind of question. All right, here's another one, by the way. Rob was talking about Jude Bellingham. Could Manchester United actually land him? Who would they have to offload if it's a realistic chance?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's an interesting one because 12 months ago you would have said it would have absolutely no chance. I think things have changed a little bit. United are still in the market for a midfielder. Their interest in Frenkie de Jong is well documented. If Bellingham is on the market in the summer, which we are led to believe that he is, United will be in the queue. Now, there are going to be other clubs in the queue as well because he's such a fantastic player and so in demand. Real Madrid, Manchester City, Liverpool will be among the clubs who are looking to sign him. I think United, the bulk of their summer budget will go on a striker. You talked about players like Harry Kane. They're going to cost an awful lot of money, and United at the moment are walking a little bit of a tightrope with FFP regulations. So it's unlikely that they could spend 100+ million on a striker and then 125 million euros on Bellingham as well. That said, I think that United have come into the conversation a little bit more with Bellingham than perhaps they were last season. And Liverpool for a long time have been seen as the team in the Premier League, or one of the teams in the Premier League that Bellingham would like to join. The point I was making before was simply that those roles have reversed a little bit. United are going to be in the Champions League next year. Liverpool possibly not. So if you were Jude Bellingham looking for a club to join in the summer, I don't think United now is as far away from that conversation as perhaps they were 6 months ago.
Yeah, the momentum clearly changed. That's just obvious. Even amazingly, even from the 7-0 losses. It's amazing what a couple of matches do. Let me ask you something, Rob, and this is my selfish question. So fans, you got to get in line here. I want to ask something here because, business aside, Rob Dawson, politics aside, even financial fair play aside, just from a purely footballing perspective, Rob, it seems to me, honestly, that Harry Kane would fit perfectly here. Perfectly. Because not only is he going to be able to score goals, but he's versatile. He can drop deep. He would work so well with already an England team member in Marcus Rashford. I just feel like the connect. Bruno Fernandes also gives me that sort of Heung-min Son kind of partnership. To me, it's like a perfectly match made in heaven. To Manchester United fans, reporters, maybe insiders, do they also think the same, or is the pool bigger? What do you think?
No, I mean, I think he is certainly on the list as United look for an out-and-out number 9, a striker who's going to score them goals. The list of positives to signing Harry Kane is massive. He's Premier League proven. He would slot straight into that team as the focal point of the attack. He's got, he mentioned some of the players that he would have around him. With due respect to Spurs, better players than he's now playing with at Spurs to create those chances for him. He's at the time of his career where he's absolutely desperate to win trophies. He's about as guaranteed goals as you can possibly get. And no signing, nothing in football is guaranteed. But if you were looking for guaranteed goals in the Premier League, Harry Kane is as close to that as you're going to get. There are difficulties with that deal. Daniel Levy, the way that he negotiates, United are put off a little bit by that. They want a striker in early, and Tottenham have this reputation of kind of negotiating all the way to deadline, which would put United off. But yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. If you're looking purely from a football perspective, Harry Kane is, or would appear to be, the right man for Man United. And it's important to United are looking for a striker. United have said to us sort of away from, privately, there is no magic pot of amazing strikers that they're going to delve into. They're not going to pluck some unknown, fantastic striker out of the blue that no one's ever heard of. The strikers that are being reported as targets are the strikers they want because they are the best in Europe. Harry Kane is one of, if not the best centre forward in the world, and he wants to win trophies. And there is, United have got a void for a striker. Why wouldn't they be looking at him? They should absolutely be definitely looking at someone like Harry Kane.
Yeah, and by the way, Tottenham fans, I actually think it would be good for you if he left and you kind of remodeled it, because there's too much of a reliance on him. Anyway, that's for another YouTube episode. That's for another segment, whether it's here or ESPNFC TV. Very quickly, Rob Dawson, the final comment from a fan before we say goodbye. Rashford has now equaled the number of games played for Manchester United. That's 346 matches. Is he on the way of becoming a club legend as Cristiano Ronaldo?
I think so. It's easier for the guys that come through United's academy to become club legends because the fans are just desperate for them to do so well. Rashford's a local lad. He's won trophies. He's not won the trophies that he wants to win, but he has won trophies. He's scored goals. He's starting to score goals regularly. If he was to carry on this form and be the guy that United built around and won the Premier League, won the Champions League, he would absolutely most definitely be a club legend. He's already well on his way. He's probably got another 10 years at least at the top. If he was to carry on the trajectory that he already is, then absolutely. I mean, he would be in kind of statue around the stadium territory if he was to continue on like this, if he was to lead another golden era of Man United success. Obviously, that's what he wants. And the early signs are positive. He just has to kind of carry on the way he's going.
On his way to becoming a club legend, Rob Dawson, on his way to the airport, because I'm imagining you have to get ready for the FA Cup as well, Rob Dawson. So, we'll let you go now. Make sure that you have a safe flight, my friend, but we'll see you next time. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, that was Rob Dawson, Luis Miguel Echegaray. Thank you so much, everybody. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, streaming ESPN Plus. We got ESPNFC later on, and so much more content, including the FA Cup, which you can only watch on ESPN, ESPNFC Deportes this weekend. We'll have all the action for you, previous commentary, and so much more. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Till then, bye-bye.